sure you see a lot of similarities among women from different socioeconomic classes, but I'm wondering what the differences are.
Well, I would say, and I think Emily would certainly agree with me, that when we look at socioeconomic status, we're really looking at the kind of stress that that puts on a mother. And so, women of poverty, women who are struggling to survive financially, obviously that kind of a stress is going to leave them much more vulnerable to the onset of a depression. I can tell you, though, in the pregnancy denial area, particularly with pervasive denial, what I have seen among the women that I've certainly worked with who are in prison and who are coming to trial, there is a demographic profile to these women. They tend to be young. They tend to be minority. When I say young, 21 or younger, they tend to be minority women. They come from homes where there's chaos, where there are boundary violations, where they've been threatened with abandonment, okay? And it's that terror of abandonment that creates the denial. So there is this kind of demographic to many of these women. Yeah, Polly.
I'm curious about our Western culture and the way we're
So am I.
isolated and autonomous. And in indigenous cultures, for example, where women birth with other women and
Right.
have all kinds of support,
Right.
and the village takes care of the baby, I wonder if those women get depressed, you know what I'm saying? Because there's so much isolation, we're separated from our mothers and our grandmothers, and in previous generations it wasn't like that.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
Not that depression didn't exist, but I'm just wondering if it's more pervasive
Well, I
in
think
Western cultures.
yeah. Well, you know what? I think the statistics tell us, Emily, that in those kind of societies that we probably think are under-civilized, okay? I wonder who's the under-civilized culture, right? But in those cultures that we would consider under-civilized, that the incidence of postpartum depression is probably lower because the stresses are the stresses look very different, okay? A mother's obligation is to herself and to her infant, and everything else is done for her. This whole idea that it takes a village to raise a child. And I think part and parcel of this sense of autonomy is that we have very strange ideas in Western culture about what autonomy is, and we mix up autonomy with lonely, right? Or alone, not lonely, but alone. Or if you're truly autonomous, you're supposed to be able to do this alone. Okay? And so there's such confusion that I think that feeds a lot of the myths. And so when I would suggest to a woman, how can we get you help? Where can we find you support? What can we delegate? There's a tremendous amount of shame. Well, I can't ask for help. People will think I'm terrible. I'm a terrible mother. So, I absolutely agree with you.
That's why support groups among
Absolutely.
mothers with young children are
Yes.
so important, because as a young mother, especially a mom who's an at-home mom, just feels sometimes so isolated, and nobody is feeling the way I'm feeling right now. And
Right.
they get together with other moms, and they're all looking at each other, and they're all going through the same things, and there's so much relief. that
Right,
goes
yes.
on there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just me. I'm not just crazy. Yeah, Karen?
Well, even, especially now, with the financial situation, people have to move from jobs.
Yes.
And you're leaving your cousins, you're leaving, that's what we had to do. You went to a whole other state, but you've never been, no relatives out
Right.
there. So you are the one who basically took my kids everywhere. I had no one to
Right.
babysit.
Right.
So they were stuck with me, which worked out good for me, but, it's just, it didn't bother me that much. For
Right.
some people, just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And they leave.
Right.
And I don't understand why when they leave, where do they think those kids are going? Do they think the father is? Or do you think, you're just deserting the whole family.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And that's my heart's problem of understanding.
Yes.
What do you do in that situation?
Well, are you talking about the families deserting, or the mother just leaves,
She can't do it. Or the father just leaves. He can't do it. And she's,
and there she's left an infant?
kids.
Yeah.
By himself.
Yeah. Well, I think we're talking about a mom who's severely depressed.
Yeah.
And I think we need to pay attention to illness and treat that before she gets to a place where she says, I'm done, I'm leaving. Because when a mom says, I'm done, I'm leaving, I think we can all agree that that's symptomatic of something much more severe. Mom may feel overwhelmed. She may even feel like, I can't do this, I don't want to do this. But when you see a mom who says, I'm done, I'm leaving, then we know there's something else going on, I think that there's another issue that presents itself also, and that is the idea, because we live in this kind of isolationist world here in Los Angeles, that I think one of the other things is, who do we ask for help? And how do we gather our support systems? And this kind of interesting idea that couples have, there's a 2-week window. I never got that 2-week window, but the idea that I'm supposed to have help for 2 weeks. And so when I say, well, I'd like to encourage you to have help for as long as you need it, there's kind of a lot of strange looks that I get, And there's also the idea that, and I know maybe I sound like a maverick when I say this, but when I'm asking the couples in my childbirth education class, who's coming to help, and a woman says, well, my mother or my mother-in-law is coming, the next question I ask is, do you like her? And the reason I ask that is because it can make a big difference to a mother's sense of self-esteem, her feelings of adequacy, if she's bringing someone into her home who's judgmental, who's critical, right? All of supportive kinds of presence, and being able to say to somebody, can you do laundry? Can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah.
Along those lines, I think that too, actually, for support groups as well, that it's important to help a woman find a support group where there's an understanding of depression and anxiety that she's going through, because if you refer a woman to just a new mommy group or sometimes even a breastfeeding support group or something like that, and everyone else looks like they're together, like they're happy, their baby's sleeping the 6 hours in the first week or whatever it is, and she's never going to go there again, and it's going to make her feel much worse. So while I do absolutely agree that social support is necessary, it needs to be the right kind and
I absolutely agree, and I often tell the moms that I work with, if you went to that group, somebody in there's lying.
Well, that's what I think. So many people come to my practice and they're like, and everyone looks so great. I'm like, they were here 2 hours ago.
I know we have to end. I want to thank all of you for being here today, for kind of inaugurating with us the beginning of this wonderful venture here in Pasadena, and thank you again, CRECAR, for making this home for us. In November, and I should